And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Director of WEIU. My guest today is Mr. Ed Dowd, the Mattoon Chamber of Commerce Executive Director. Welcome, Ed.
Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I appreciate you coming in. And if you are watching, we are social distancing. Or if you're listening, Ed is in the studio today. We're having people back. As long as we're careful, that's what we're doing. Obviously, Ed, everybody's talking pandemic right now and how it's affecting different aspects of our country. And as we've been talking a lot over this show the past, really since March when everything hit, about how the pandemic hits. And we want to talk to you today a little bit from your point of view from the Mattoon Chamber. Before we get into some of the things that we want to talk about, just give us an overview of where you see things happening right now in Mattoon from a business way.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, things seem to be going pretty well. There was a lot of issues with the restaurants and bars and salons and things. But I think, Mattoon and Charleston and Coles County, we kind of hold our own. People really rally around these organizations. That's one thing I love about our community. People rally around and they show support any way they can. And I think they really did a great job of helping these businesses, the restaurants. People would visit them, any way they could, whether it's through carry out, pickup, delivery, whatever they could. And, they made sure they made appointments with a lot of the salons and things and get them going. A lot of the businesses, I think, did pretty well, and it was great to see all the support. It was a tough situation, as you can imagine, and one of the toughest things that's happening is, these businesses are trying to follow the guidelines. They're trying to do what's right, and there are sometimes where people, they don't realize that it's important for these businesses to follow these guidelines, and they kind of say, oh, we don't need to wear a mask or things like that. But, just understand what they're going through, these businesses, and support them. And, please follow the guidelines. They're just trying to do their best, and they really want to take care of you and take care of their customers, and they don't want to end up having to close again. So these are the kind of things I see.
None of us want to wear a mask. We all know that.
Correct.
But if a business says you need to wear a mask, it should be that you either don't go to that business, which is your right, or go and wear a mask. To me, I know it stinks. Trust me. But we have to move forward with getting this solved and then going on to the bigger issues, because right now we need to wear a mask because you can see what's happening even today in baseball. There's a lot of tragedy in baseball today with the Marlins and a couple of games being canceled. So we need to do our best and do our part even here in Coles County. Let's talk a little bit about this payroll protection program, the PPP, because you've got a lot of great, exciting numbers of what has happened and transpired over this 150-day pandemic we've been going through.
Yeah, as everyone knows, there's been a lot of different federal programs and federal things that have come out regarding the pandemic and how they're trying to help people. And I got to tell you, the payroll protection program was one of the best things that the federal government could have done. I think there was a great program, and a lot of times you heard how these bigger businesses, these huge businesses, took the money away from the small businesses. Well, you always hear the sensational things, but really in our community, Coles County and Mattoon especially, it worked out extremely well. We had 349 different Mattoon businesses receive payroll protection program funds. The funding, it was over $25 million that stayed locally here in Mattoon to help employees and help employees of these companies who were displaced during the pandemic. The local banks did a fantastic job. A lot of this they did on their own. They didn't make, they don't make any money on this, and they were willing to take the time to help all these businesses. So the local banks and also the accounting firms, they just did a fantastic job supporting these businesses, getting them what they needed, all the information. We actually had a range from one business locally got over $5 million, and then we went all the way down to a sole proprietor who got $575. But you know what? That $575 probably did great for them.
And when you think of the number 349, I bet some people don't even think there's 349 businesses in Mattoon.
Correct.
That's 349 that got it. So that's incredible when you think about it.
Exactly.
But I think the most important note you sent me, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but there were a lot of jobs that were saved. Talk about the number. This is incredible as well.
Yeah. So as part of the paperwork that they had to submit, these businesses had to submit, they said, how many jobs do you think will be saved or retained based on this? And based on the 349 businesses, they expected 4,183 jobs were saved here in Mattoon. Just an incredible number. And it's just amazing, again, how well this program has done and how much benefit it had. I am certain a lot of these businesses, because I talked to them personally, would have had to close if it wasn't for this ability to get this money, or they would have never been able to have their people come back because they just couldn't pay them, and this was able for them to pay them. So just a great program locally.
And there's still time for businesses to apply, correct?
Yes, as of July 4th, they said, you know what, this program's doing so well, and they had, I think, $15 billion left to spend for it, so they extended it to August 8th. So if you know of a business who didn't get benefits from this, have them talk to their local banks, and whatever bank they work with, have them talk to them. They're more than willing to help, and they do get money. The nice thing about this too is this is not necessarily a loan. If you can use a majority of it for payroll, which most of these businesses will, it's forgiven. So it turns into a grant. So again, this is just a phenomenal program. If you know of anybody, please reach out to them, have them contact their bank, because this has been a savior for a lot of these businesses.
Are all businesses eligible in some way, shape, or form?
Yes, almost all businesses are eligible. It's funny you say that, because one of the few that aren't is actually chambers of commerce. 501c3s are eligible, but 501c6s. The reason we kind of got lumped in as not being able to benefit from this is NFL teams, sports teams are actually 501c6s, so they didn't want the sports teams to get it. So we kind of got lumped in there. But virtually almost every other business can benefit from this program.
Well, at least the businesses that are supporting the chamber are getting it. So
Exactly.
that gives you some kind of in somewhere down the line.
Absolutely.
Talk about there's an economic opportunity stabilization grant program that the business took advantage of, and talk about that now.
Yeah. So another program that was administered through the state of Illinois, but is actually another federal program, was called the Stabilization Grant Program, and it's through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And what it was you could get up to $25,000 in funds to help your business if you're struggling. And we had probably 30 different businesses apply. We had phases of, there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And the first phase, 8 of the, I think, 15 businesses that applied received the funds, and that was a big win for a lot of local businesses. The second phase was just announced on Friday, and 5 of the 6 Mattoon businesses received grants in round 2. And again, they range from 4 out of 5 were $25,000 and 1 was $15,000. So put it in perspective, this is huge to some of these businesses. Just to give you an idea, Jeff, so take a restaurant. Take a restaurant. Restaurant margins are around 10%. So they'd have to do $250,000 in sales to make up what they're getting in this $25,000. So this was a huge impact, and 3 out of the 5 were local restaurants. So it's just a huge impact and a huge help to these businesses.
And those are the ones that really were struggling in some aspect. I talked to a local restaurant, I won't name the name, last week that said, we were just skating by, and we understand where we're at, and we hope we can make it. But I mean, and this was a restaurant that a lot of people go to, so it wasn't just the popular ones that were struggling. I mean, that we're struggling. I mean, it was the main ones that people go to all the time, and so you just don't want them to close, because once a restaurant closes, it's hard for that building to open back up. We got lucky with Poly Eyes and the place opened in that same building, but it seems like when a restaurant closes, sometimes that doesn't always happen.
And again, this one is another one that, if you know of restaurants or any businesses that haven't applied for yet, there is still a time to apply for that one. They can contact either the Charleston Chamber, myself, or Coles together, and we can give them all the details on how to apply.
And the state has also then revised the Phase 4 guidelines. So now the state is broken into 11 zones, which I think we talked about a long time ago, or somebody on this show did. It was Dale Ryder, actually, who talked about how the state needs to be broken down into more zones, because you can't count what's happening. Mattoon and Quincy were in the same zone the first time, and I don't even know what Quincy and Mattoon are no more like than anything. So are you happy about the more zones?
Yes.
And talk about that.
Yes, it's a lot better. There used to be 51 different counties that we were responsible for, to your point, all the way from the east to the west coast of Illinois, and as far north as I think it was Watseka, and as far south as Olney. Yeah. So it was a huge range, and we were responsible for anything that could have happened in any of those counties, whether or not we were going to go back to phases and things. So now we're in a 20 county region. Most notably, the biggest county is Champaign. But if we could keep the numbers safe here, we don't have to worry about it. Such a big an area. So it's nice. It's very nice.
And that's the key thing, because if it falls below a certain threshold, then sometime the bars and restaurants would have to be carry out only or outdoor dining only and things, which, people don't mind, but when it's 110 degrees, I don't want to eat outdoors. I don't know about you.
Exactly, and salons as well. If we go back to now they have it in tiers, which is a little different. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And if we go back to Tier 1, the salons will have to, close and things, and the restaurants and bars, they'll have to go, like you said, back to outdoor dining. And it was great, it was fun, it's nice to see, but when it's this hot, it's
we're talking to Ed Dowd from the Mattoon Chamber of Commerce today here on Issues and Attitudes. Unfortunately, you did cancel your big expo out at the mall. That's been a big hit for almost 2 decades.
19 years we've had this expo, and it's been out at the mall. We usually average between 3,000 to 5,000 people who come. We have around 1,200 people come to the Taste of the Expo, and as you can imagine, it just couldn't happen. It was going to be October 1st, and the way things are trending right now, we just determined, we talked to everyone we could. We talked to the health department, we talked to the mall, we talked to Rural King, who owns the mall. We talked to a lot of different people, our board and everything, and they said, you know what, it's probably best that we just cancel it. To give you some perspective, though, on how the pandemic affects certain businesses, Peoria Flag and Drapery is a business that has supplied us all 19 years with all our backdrops, all our equipment and everything. They have not had 80% of their business is trade shows, events, expos, things like that. They have lost all that business since March 15th. They've not had a single show. So you can imagine, the impact that they've had. In fact, the manager called me after I called him and explained that we were going to have to postpone, and he had to call me from home because he had to lay himself off to be able to stay in business. So it's just so sad that how it affects certain businesses, and that's the thing that we want to try to help these certain businesses. There are some businesses who are affected a lot more than others, and the state and federal government are trying to come up with grants that help those. So
let's talk a little bit about the Elevate program and where we stand. I know there's been a lot of good news happening, and I've not kept up with it in the past few weeks, but where are we at with Elevate?
Yeah, Elevate's doing fantastic. If you get a chance, go to the back of the mall behind where Carson's used to be. Beautiful signage. Google is part of it, and very exciting stuff. He's got 3 different clients already, and 3 different businesses who have started their.
Oh, really?
Who are out there. One is the Coles County Veteran Support Coalition, and they're going to be working with veterans. This is so exciting to me. So it's called Code Platoon, and what they do, they offer veterans an opportunity to learn coding and learn technical skills, computer technical skills, and they can use their GI Bill, they can use all kinds of things. And the Coles County Veteran Support Coalition is going to work closely with these gentlemen and ladies, and help them so that they could become able to get a job in the computer industry. So it's real exciting stuff. That's one aspect of it. There's so many different layers to this. There's a company out there now who does a lot of web design and web work, and he has 6 employees throughout the country, and they're all working together out of that center. So it's just really exciting stuff. Hopefully by September 1st, they'll be able to open to the public, and so people can come check it out. But just a lot of really good things happen out there.
How many different businesses can I get in there?
They're looking to get at least up to 50 different businesses in there. And again, not only that, they're going to have it open to the public for events or conferences or things like that. So real exciting stuff. They're looking for entrepreneurs, looking for people who are willing to start up. And as we talked earlier, businesses and things are so dynamic right now with what's going on that there's a lot of different opportunities that are going to present themselves from the pandemic, and we're looking for people to be able to do that and be involved with it. So
you are going to try to have your golf tournament, I heard?
Yes, we are shooting for our golf tournament on August 28th. We've been talking to a lot of different people on how we're going to make it safe. It is an outdoor event, which makes it easier, and it's not like everyone congregates at the same time. What's really nice about it at the country club too, there's indoor and outdoor dining, so we can spread people out.
There you go.
So we really think it's going to be doable, and we're real excited about it. So,
in a serious note, I mean, with the pandemic, and obviously you said earlier that you weren't allowed to get additional funding with the rules of the 501(c)(3) You said, does this pandemic, has it hurt the chamber? Are you guys still, in good shape? I have to ask because every other business is somewhat struggling or not. Are you guys doing all right?
Yeah, what's nice is we built up a reserve. We had a decent reserve, so we're in pretty good shape. And what's nice is I think a lot of the local Mattoon businesses, again, I can't say enough about our community and how people rally around people. Our businesses have still continued to support us throughout this, and they're saying, you know what, we see the value in the chamber. So they're really helpful and they're really supportive, which is fantastic. It makes me, it's so nice to be part of this. We have what's called the Chamber Business Professionals Facebook page, and so many chambers are struggling, and it's just so nice that locally they still support us and they still know that we're going to provide value.
I was a little afraid to ask you that question, but but you gave the answer that I was hoping you were going to give. That because I've always been a big proponent of chambers. So I think they do a lot for our communities, but you just don't know, because as people tighten their budget, they might say, I can't belong. I need to drop this, or I need to drop advertising, or I need to drop my newspaper, whatever. And so they have to figure out ways to survive. And so good, the chamber membership in Mattoon's going strong.
Yes.
How'd you feel about the no summer sports in our parks in Mattoon? Because it doesn't affect you to say, but then people can't go to the hotels and restaurants and buy gas and eat food. So what'd you think about that ruling?
Another thing that you and I were talking about, there's so many ripple effects on so many different things, like sports and the Lido Park not being able to have the different events and things. There is that ripple effect, and it affects all businesses. And it is sad. And if we talked, kids nowadays, it's such a different world for them. They're gonna look back at this, and I hope that they get a lot of good lessons out of this. But it's just very hard for businesses to gauge where you're going to be at, because when we thought we were doing well, now we're kind of taking steps back. So it's tough for businesses. The biggest thing they do is they have to budget, and for them to be able to budget based on, like you said, the sports and then the restaurants and hotels and things. How do they budget when they can't determine what's going to be going on? So good question, good point.
What about your biggest concern for the fall? As we had the initial pandemic hit. We thought we were doing okay. Now it looks like there's a surge and there's some scariness out there. As we look forward to the fall, we call it fall semester, fall season, whatever. What's your biggest concern, Ed Dowd?
Yes, my biggest concern is, and I really think it is going to happen, I think we're going to get another surge with the students going back. Hopefully it won't affect them too badly, and hopefully a lot of them will be asymptomatic. But I do see a surge, and I would hate to see it get to the point where we hit the positivity rate where things start. We have to go back to the other phases and things. And then some of these businesses will have a really hard time if we have to, go back to the other phases and they have to close, or they have to go to outdoor only, or things like that. That's my biggest concern. Is I think, as you and I talked, it's important for these kids to go back. They have to learn. They have to get classroom ability, but doing it safely and doing it carefully is going to be really important. And
it really starts at home. If your kid's a little bit sick, it used to be kids a little bit sick. Come on, Johnny, you're all right. Now it's going to be keep them home. It's going to come to that.
Exactly. The other thing, to your point about it's at home, is now's a good time to get your kids used to wearing the mask and understanding that it's going to be really important for them to wear the mask. So I think it's important for the parents to get their kids used to it. Don't wait till the day before and say, okay, you got to practice wearing this mask. It's not going to work. So this is a good time to get them to understand that this is for their protection, their grandparents, their families, and other people's families' protection.
And has the chamber been providing continuous updates on COVID training and what people are supposed to do?
Exactly. In fact, a lot of this information on Phase 4, all the guidelines, if you have any questions, if businesses or people are wondering what are the new tiers, what are the new phases, they can go to our website at www.mattoonchamber.com, and it lists out all the phases, all the different aspects of what businesses are affected and things like that. And yes, we definitely are doing that as well.
You had mentioned that that it was good to see people today because you're working out of the office, but your foot traffic's down, which is not, people aren't going in business as much as possible. But when you do get a chance to get out or talk to people, I don't want to say concern, but what do they bring up when in conversation? I know that it's always pandemic, but then what is the kind of the nuts and bolts when they're asking you questions?
Yeah, a lot of the questions revolve around whether or not these businesses are going to survive actually, and how it's affecting them. And what I really like telling people is, again, our community is so good at rallying around these businesses and showing support. And I just remind people, continue to show support, continue to support these businesses. They're what keeps our economy going locally. So that's what I love to say is, just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep supporting these local businesses. So.
How often do you talk to other chamber directors and shoot the bull about what they're doing and how you guys can continue to move forward?
Yeah, I work with quite a few other chambers locally. I try to keep ones about the same size as the ones as ours. And I say, what are your challenges? What things are you running into? And a lot of it is, it's really a lot of the same stuff. Businesses, what they're being able to budget, having their concerns, what's going to happen with school, because as with school, if they go back, a lot of these people who work, they have daycare too. So if these kids aren't back in school, again, ripple effects. It's gonna affect a lot of different things. So
yeah, my wife owns a daycare, and she's been telling people that when they're full, they just can't have more students in there. There's laws and rules about that, and they don't understand. Parents don't understand that, and so there's a big concern if kids get pulled back into at-home learning of where students are going to be and where young children are going to be at.
Yeah.
I always ask this because you're the chamber director. Any rumors of new business or new businesses coming? Anything you'd like to break news today on? Or
one thing I love about our community, as everyone can see, and you see it every day driving down Lincoln Avenue and Charleston Avenue, is we have three major projects going on. We have the Hilton Garden and Convention Center, we have the Blue Cross Blue Shield, and HSHS, which is actually open now. HSHS is a walk-in clinic and a heart center, so that's already open. They're doing wonderful things, and then the hotel will be 104 rooms, 4 stories. It's going to have a convention center next to it. And Blue Cross Blue Shield, they have around 100 employees right now. Their building is going to be able to house 300 employees, so they're looking to grow locally. So just great things there. In terms of other businesses that are opening, I don't have any direct knowledge. Again, there's a lot of things that are in the works.
I've heard the Jersey Mice got delayed.
Okay, you did. Yes.
But they're in training right now,
yes.
And so once the guys,
I was going to mention that. Yes.
Yeah.
What's nice about Jersey Mike's is the plans have been submitted to the city of Mattoon, so it's going to happen. But to your point, it's delayed. It's funny. I've never actually eaten one.
You're going to like them.
And that's what I've heard. Nothing but good things. So very exciting. But again, they're delayed. There are a few other projects that that aren't official yet, that are in the works. But again, the pandemic's just kind of, the people are kind of taking a step back and thinking about it.
It's slowed down, yeah.
Yes, Shoe Sensations, one of the ones that just opened, they're having a grand opening Friday. So this Friday, actually, and they're going to have all kinds of specials. So there is still some things going on that are going. So
cool. Because and with the 349 business, I have to ask: did we lose any businesses over the pandemic? And I don't know if it was all pandemic related, but you don't have to say names.
Yeah, no. I know of only one business, knock on wood, so far that ended up having to close, which is great compared to. I've talked to other chamber members, and some chambers have had over 100 businesses close locally. So luckily, as of right now, I've only heard of one that had to close because of the pandemic issue. So, again, it's so important to continue to support locally. Please show your support locally. What you think you might have to get online at Amazon, and I know it's real easy to do, to click those buttons and get it. Check out a local place. They might have it. And if they do, you're going to get that personal touch.
I heard a great story. If you're going to buy 2 of something, buy one local if you want to buy one by Amazon.
Absolutely.
Split the difference. Or if you might save a little money online, but then buy the other one here, at least it's showing some kind of support, and just kind of that change that we kind of try to instill in people. The census, are we where are we at in the census in terms, can people still do the census?
Yes, very good question. So the census right now, we are a little behind where we were in 2010. Charleston, unfortunately, they weren't as much as the Charleston Complete Count Committee tried. A lot of the students were missed. So it's really, really important that everybody fills out the census. You can still do it. You can go to uscensus.gov. They'll explain there's a special code, a special number for you. You can fill it out there. The next phase, though, that's coming up very soon, they haven't released a date yet, is where they're going to do in-home visits. And that's going to be the key to getting these numbers. Right now, Illinois is about 67% that are self-reporting. Back in 2010, it was almost 80% self-reporting.
So we're about 13% down.
So we're about 13% down. So what we have to do is, these people, they're going to have to go out and they're really going to have to visit all these homes. One thing you might find interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff, is they are so concerned about this part of it. They were originally starting these people off at like $13 an hour. The people are going to be doing these things because of the issues they're going to have wearing masks and being safe, and the fact that there's such a need for it. They're starting them out at $17.50 an hour. So, I mean, if you're looking for part-time job that's right now there's a lot of people who are out of work. This is something that you can do, in $17.50 an hour is a pretty good salary.
What was it? My first salary was like $3.35 an hour. So yeah, I'd take 17 at that time. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, a couple of we're about out of time. We're talking to Ed Dowd. We'll ask some unrelated questions and have some fun at the end of the show. Your first car, Mr. Ed Dowd, was
My first car was a beige Nissan Sentra.
What year was it?
It was a 1978.
That's awesome. Favorite thing you like to cook? I'm assuming you can cook something.
Yes, I love cooking. I got a Italian heritage, a Sicilian heritage, and my favorite thing to cook is I make my own homemade, what everyone calls spaghetti sauce, but we call it gravy. And what we do is we cook it all day long. It's a fantastic meal, and we freeze it and share it all the time. So
that sounds really good.
My favorite thing.
If someone was to describe your leadership style, Ed Dowd's leadership style is?
My leadership style is, I will never ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do myself. I just think it's so important that if you're going to ask somebody to do something, you got to be willing to do it yourself. And then just, care about your people. I think that's the most important thing. If you take care of your people, they're going to take care of you.
Your favorite sports-related movie?
Favorite sports-related movie? Wow. My favorite sports-related movie. Interesting. Brian's Song, I think.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, boy.
That'd be in my top five for sure. Yeah.
That's in
the
your
original,
top five?
not the remake.
The original.
Yeah.
Correct.
Favorite place you like to go just to escape in Mattoon? Do you like to go to Peterson or Lawson or some, whatever? Is there a place when you want to get away?
A very good question. Yeah. So my wife and I, we like going to Lytle. We don't live too far from there, and it's nice. I mean, there's a lot of different features that you see, a lot of different things that they've created out there. So we like kind of going there and hiding out.
I got 30 seconds. Toughest question on the list. Last one. How many hotel rooms are available in Mattoon? How many hotel rooms?
Ooh.
I think you should have to know this as a chamber director.
I should have to know this. I believe it is. I think 900. I'm
gonna say you're right.
I believe it's 900.
And soon to grow.
To over 1,000.
Thank you, my friend, for coming in today. We appreciate it. That's Ed Dowd, Charleston Chamber, Mattoon Chamber of Commerce Director. Jess will get me now.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Everybody have a great day. This is WEIU.